Hi, I'm Maya from Bookworm Dreams and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about my March wrap-up. I'm doing a video by myself because Christina and I have a similar situation that we had last month, in which that one of us read a lot of books and one of us read not a lot of books. So we decided to switch our wrap up into two parts. So I'm going to do my wrap up and later on Christina will do hers. So definitely check her video out later as it comes out. In March, I read 13 books, and most of them have apparently been inspired by February, which is the month of romance, and most of these have been romance. Of all the 13 books that I've read 3 graphic novel comic books, I read 3 sci-fi fantasy novels, and I read 7 different kinds of romance books. What I didn't read is my TBR. If you've seen our March TBR video, there were a bunch of cool books on that list, and I read only two. I read 2, and those were the 2 that Christina picked for me. All the others, I wasn't in the mood. I made a list. I was like, I don't feel like reading it, even though I did try to give my translated works a chance, because during the month of March was the Translate-a-thon, which is a readathon created and hosted by Rhea. And I will leave the information to her channel down below and to her readathon. I've read some of Brothers in Arms, which was on the TBR for that readathon during one of the live sprints, reading sprints that she hosted, but other than that, nothing. So yeah, Translate-a-thon fail. And I'll just start with the romance books that I've read. I've divided them into categories because there was a variety of things happening this month. So first, let's talk about the one contemporary romance that I've read, and that is Ice Cream Lover by Jackie Lau. So basically, this is I think it's a novella. It's like around 200 pages. So basically, we follow Drew. Drew has been, he's an Asian Canadian. He has been, in the last couple of years, he's been left at the altar by his fiance, who then went on to write a self-help book called Embrace Your Inner Ice Cream Sandwich, Finding the Positive You in a World of Negativity, which he read and which depicts him in not a very flattering light, and also causes him to hate ice cream forever. And of course, he goes to an ice cream parlor because his niece is a foodie and she wants to try out this Asian ice cream place. And there he meets Chloe, and they sort of have a connection, and their relationship blossoms. And it was a very, very fun romance book to read. It was cute. It was funny. The smut scenes were great. But also the book talks about race and sexuality, because Chloe, our main female character, sort of feels in between worlds, because her mother is Chinese, her father is white, and his father says that he doesn't see race, so essentially erasing the Chinese half of her, and she feels like she doesn't belong because she does she speak the language? I'm not sure if she speaks the language. I don't think she speaks the language. And also she felt very, she didn't know where she belonged after her mother died. So she dropped out of college. She opened this ice cream shop, which caters to Asians. I mean, has Asian flavors. I mean, everyone can buy ice cream, whatever. But, and she sort of finds herself in conflict with her father, who wants her to continue with her schooling to become a dentist, I think, and everything. So it was an interesting read, and definitely I would recommend it for people. It was fun. The next set of romance books I'm going to talk about are paranormal romances that I've read this month. So I read like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 5, because while I was compiling a list for the video, I then remember I went to check Goodreads to see all the books and stuff, and then I remembered I forgot to type in one that I've read. So yeah, let's start with the paranormal romance. The first one I read is Delicate Freaking Flower by Eve. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Langlais, if she's French. I'll write it down so you can check for yourself. Basically, this is a shifter romance in which we follow Naomi. Naomi is a wolf, and she hates the dynamic of her family. Apparently, wolf shifters are very they have a they're very hot tempered. That's the word I was looking for. They're very hot tempered. So nothing in her house as she was growing up matched because everything was broken all the time. So she wants to live her life like, you know, without breakage of stuff, and she doesn't want to sort of follow the typical shifter life, finding a mate and whatever, and being together with someone like her, because she considers herself a delicate freaking flower, and she of course then bonds with two shifters, one of them being Ethan, who is he shapeshifts into a bear, and the other one being Javier, who shapeshifts into a jaguar. Those two are friends, and they play lacrosse in some like town team, whatever, in Toronto. It's a Canadian thing, and basically the two of them have to somehow convince Naomi to be with them forever, and hilarity ensues. It was fun, and it was sometimes cringy because when they were having sex, there was like talk of honey and stuff tasting like honey because one of them is a bear. It was like, ugh, no. So yeah, it was fun. The next paranormal romance that I read are two books in the series whose name I've totally forgot, The Dark something. So basically, the first book is Four Psychos, and the second one is Three Trials by Christy Cumming. In the first one, we follow a girl whose name we don't know. She's a ghost, and she haunts these four dudes who live in a house together. They work together as they're like Reaper type of things. Basically, they sort of catch the souls that escaped from hell. And they also have a sort of reverse harem thing happening with, sometimes they bring a girl over, and so the four of them, it's a word, not contribute. See, if I could have Christina here, I would ask her to say Sudilovati. I don't know, I'll remember, and then I say it. So basically, the four of them bring a girl over, and they have sex. They have a whole reverse harem situation. So our ghost girl, she doesn't know who she is and why she's there, and who she was before she, I guess, died and everything. But certain things start happening, and she gets very attached to the boys and to the guys and everything, and she somehow manages to save them a couple of times. And so every time she sort of helps them in a way, saves them, she becomes more corporeal, and she can interact with the fellas. And then, the plot thickens from there. The reason I picked this book is because I was sort of in this reverse harem kick that I wanted to read like reverse harem books. And this book, the first one, doesn't have a lot of like reverse harem, like with our main character scenes, which I didn't mind at all, because the world building and the plot was very interesting, because you get to sort of know the boys are actually like part of hell. I mean, they are connected to hell in some way. So you get to, find out about hell, about, Lucifer and all the demons and everything. And there is this sort of trial that sort of happens in the second book, which is called Three Trials, in which the boys want to participate in, and they have been prevented from doing so by other beings and everything. But we sort of find out what the trials are, why the boys want to continue in them and want to be in them. But yeah, it's fun, and the second one is even better because there's sex in it. So cool. The next paranormal romance that I read is called Bangkok Burn Binding by Tracy Cooper Posey. So this is a book in this book is confusing because it's so many things at once. So basically the plot is, if you read on Goodreads, is we follow Natalia, who is a vampire and works for like a tourist travel agency that travels into the past. And she and her tourist guy get stuck in like 14th century England during the siege of some Scottish castle, and she gets captured by Robert Mackenzie, like a dashing Highlander, and the two of them sort of form a bond of some sort. And then the vampire they sent to get her back also forms a bond with Robert Mackenzie, and the three of them sort of have this threesome relationship that gets complicated because of stuff. What my problem with this book was is I read it for the sex, obviously, and I got like so many new concepts and so many like sci-fi things and like history things that I was like that was not the reason why I read this book. So if you want to read this book, you have to be aware of what it is. The Goodreads summary doesn't really give you a good enough explanation. So in this book, you have time travel, you have history, you have romance, and there are a lot of sex scenes which are very frank and which are very realistic, which I liked. That was fun. But at some point, you're like reading it, like there's so much sex in this, and it doesn't fit with, I guess, with what I thought the book wanted to be. And so, like my Goodreads review for this book was like, yeah, this book is confused by its identity, and because it's either a sci-fi thriller with too much sex in it, or it's a romance with too much sci-fi in it. So it could have been better. I guess if it just wanted, if the author kind of picked what it wanted to be. I mean, I guess the series continues, and so if you get used to it, then it's fine. But it was, for me, I was like, because I wanted to read about the three of them and their romance and relationship, and then I got a history lessons, the dangers of being a vampire on Earth and stuff. I'm like, why? But yeah, and the last one that I read, which I totally forgot that I read, and I just remembered later on, I read Elements of Mischief by author I did not write the name of. I'll write it somewhere here. So basically, in this book, we follow Arizona Smoke, and she is a barista, which she tells you all the time. Every third page is like, I'm a barista, not a something like Scotty does in Star Trek. Basically, she moved into her late grandmother's house, which is falling apart, and she has to have some plumbing work done. And while she gets people to, I guess, workers to come and fix her plumbing, they turn out to be like elementals, which is like a paranormal supernatural creature. Like there's like 4 of them, and each of them is like one of the elements: fire, water, air, and earth, right? So they trick her, which is the problematic part. They trick her into her seeing their elemental form, and then she has to marry them, or other supernatural creatures will kill her because she is like introduced to the supernatural world, and she's not supposed to know, and unless someone saves her in some way. And anyway, they have to get married. There's like some sex stuff that's happening. There also have to be like a ritual for her to become like a part of their bond or whatever. Sex, sync. If it's 5 of them, there's like a word. I'll write it somewhere. Anyway, what to say about this book? They're problematic stuff. There's so many plumbing puns with sex, like when it's concerned with sex. People have big plungers. They're plugging her drain or unplugging her drain or whatever. And it was kind of like, okay, after like 15 of them, it becomes too much. It's also melodramatic, which sort of sucked me in so hard. And I was like, do I want to read the sequel? Because it kind of ends on a cliffhanger. And like, I think I want to read the sequel, but it's, it could be better. But yeah, those were the paranormal romances that I read. The last set of romances that I read, I'll call alien romances, I guess. Basically, it's the Zoe Draven part of the show. I was actually interested in reading her paranormal, not the fantasy romance thing she has, but I got stuck on 2 of her books in 2 different series. So the first one is The Alien Prize, and the second one being The Captive of the Horde King. Right, yes. So the first one, The Alien Prize, we follow Kate Harper, who gets abducted by aliens, and then, of course, sent to the slave market, and in a place called the Pit, where, like, aliens from different races, or aliens, whatever, different aliens come, and they fight to the death to to pick their like pleasure slave thing. So Kate gets won by a guy called Vaxan, I don't know, Vaxan. Oh, anyway, he's the prime leader of alien race called Luxuria, and his duty is to continue his race because of some problems. They can't have kids, so they have to have sex with other people, aliens, so they can have kids or something like that. So basically, he, wins her, puts her on a boat, on his spaceship, and they go towards his home planet. And during the travels, he has to sort of win her over. I mean, he doesn't have to, but he wants to because she is his fated mate and so on. It wasn't bad. The sex scenes were fun. And there wasn't cringy shit. I read this one after I read the freaking Delicate Freaking Flowers. I was like, yay, it's a plus because there's no cringy shit, so that's great. And the second Zoe Draven book that I read is Captive of the Horde King. So basically, in this book, we have a planet whose name escapes me, and humans live on this planet as refugees. And they live a horrible life because, if you follow any refugee situation on Earth today, you'll see it's horrible. So basically, our main character's name is Luna, which is the dumbest name ever. I hate that name. But anyway, her brother is a dumbass, and he does something to offend the Horde King. Oh, right, the alien planet is ruled over by a horde. Like think Attila the Hun, but a bunch of little hordes that are part of a big horde, and they sort of patrol an area, right? So the brother of our main character offends the horde by doing something to the earth of the planet, soil, because they want to grow food. And anyway, so to save his life, Luna exchanges her life for his, and basically agrees to become the horde's leader's plaything, whatever. Anyway, he accepts her and then makes her the queen of his horde. Yes, and stuff happens from there. So it was like average romance. The sex scenes were fun, but the plot was very predictable. Like when you meet the character, when you meet like supporting characters, and it started like, okay, I totally know what they're going to do. So it was kind of predictable, and I was like, I guessed everything that was going to happen in this book. But yeah, it's an average human alien sci-fi romance. So if you're into those, you can give it a read. And lastly, I'm going to talk about all the sci-fi / fantasy books that I've read this month. I'll start with The Consuming Fire by John Scalzi. This is book 2 in the Interdependency series. In book 1, we follow a couple of characters who live in they live in a time where Earth has expanded and colonized different parts of the universe by using something called the flux, which is like a space highway thing, which sort of gives them, they can travel to different parts of the universe, and they've created sort of little colonies of humans. And they're all connected. That's why the whole thing is called interdependency. The whole empire is everything, and everything's called interdependency. So in the first book, we discovered that the flux thing is sort of falling apart, and certain passageways to different planets are going to fail, and leave the people that are stuck on the other side stranded because they won't have a connection with the central hub place where they get all the resources and stuff. And we follow a woman whose name now escapes me, but she becomes the new emperor, Greyland II, in the first book. And in the first book, there are so many assassination attempts on her life that it's ridiculous. And we also follow a flux scientist called Mace, and we follow Lady Kiva, who is awesome and one of my favorite characters, female characters ever, because she's so badass. She's foul-mouthed. She just goes around, and she's very capable, which I loved, and she's just getting things done. So in the second book, I mean, I'm not going to really talk much about it because I'm going to, I don't want to spoil stuff for people who want to read. Let's just say it continues with its awesomeness from the first one. Basically, there are more assassination plots. There's more science. Basically, the space highway is still failing, and they're trying to figure out how to save it. And it's just it's set up the third one where I guess everything is going to be resolved. I guess I'm in the middle of the third one, so yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. It's John Scalzi. It's easy sci-fi to follow, and it's fun, it's entertaining, and that's all I want from my sci-fi. The second sci-fi book that I've read, sci-fi fantasy actually, this one is N.K. Jemisin's The Obelisk Gate. This is book 2 in the, oh my god, it's the 5th season, but the book series is called something else. Anyway, the first one is the 5th season, this is the second one. I like the first one better because the second one, first of all, it's a bit slower. We focus more on the characters, and we meet a bunch of other characters because our main character, Esun, finds herself in a community during the season. And the season in this world is when basically the world is ending because of stuff. In the first book, if you read it, you know that the 5th season started and people are just trying to survive and figure out what's happening. My problem, it's my problem, not the book's problem. I don't really understand the magic system. Granted, I'm listening to this on audio, and I followed the first book I followed, the audiobook I followed with the book. The second one I didn't. And I'm still I'm confused by the magic system, and because in the second book, the word magic is being introduced as part of their something that's happening. They have sort of like a scientific explanation for everything, but the general plot of what they're trying to achieve with their magic is revealed in this one. It's very interesting, and it's a very interesting blend of science fiction and fantasy, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Yeah, I read it. I enjoyed it a lot, but I liked the first one better because there was more plot and more stuff happening. But yeah, I read it. It's awesome. Then I read one of the books that Christina picked for me, which is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal, which I loved. It's a feminist science fiction. Basically, it's an alternate history book in which we follow a group of scientists as they're trying to colonize Mars because a meteorite fell on Earth, destroyed Washington, D.C., and then sort of started this chain of events which will leave Earth uninhabitable. And so people of Earth have to figure out a way to survive. And one of the ways they're trying to figure out is if they colonize Mars. And we follow a married couple. Oh my God, it's literally, I have to start writing names because I keep forgetting the names. Anyway, we follow the married couple who are such an amazing married couple. Their relationship goals, they're so geeky and they're so supportive of each other. And this is set in the fucking 50s. So, basically, we follow the married couple. One of them is a physicist. Another one is an engineer. The physicist she's also a pilot. She was a pilot during World War II, and she's also trying to become an astronaut. And see? Astronaut. Anyway, she's trying to become an astronaut, and she is, meeting, difficulties and so many things that are against her to becoming that. And also, what I liked about this book is also that the problems of Black people is also mentioned and discussed in this one, because she's friends with lots of pilots, and some of the pilots are Black women and Black men, and they don't even get a chance to participate in this whole program because of the color of their skin. And so this is sort of discussed and sort of is working on being changed. And I just really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't too much on the science of it. And if you're not into like space shuttles and space explore, I guess not space, but getting people into space things, it's not too heavy on that. I mean, you can follow it along. It kind of is similar to if you watched the movie Hidden Figures or read the book Hidden Figures. You get the history of computers for NASA. Well, not NASA, it's the thing before NASA. And it's also mentioned here and it's explained very well. And I just love our relationship between the husband and wife, because it's so cool. They're so supportive of each other. There's no like melodrama, or there's no secrets, and they're just, every time they have sex, it's like, it's not explicit at all. It's like fade to black, but it's all like rocket puns and science puns and flying puns, and it's hilarious. And I just loved it. And so yeah, I'm definitely recommending this one to anyone, because it's easy to follow. The characters are great. It's like feminist science fiction, and it's just awesome. And the last thing I want to talk about, I've read the 3 volumes of Sweet Tooth by Jeff Lemire, whatever his name is. I totally forgot how to check how his name is pronounced. Basically, we follow this kid. His name is Gus. He lives in a world. It's like an apocalyptic version of Earth because of something that happened. All the children that are born after this event are some sort of hybrids of animals and stuff. So, of course, because of the way they look, they are wanted and hunted by the militia, which is basically remnants of the. See, I want to show you the pictures of other animal children. So they are hunted by the militia because they want to figure out how they are there, how they came to be, and if there is a way to use them to sort of fix the situation that they're in currently. The situation is not really explained, but yeah, this is interesting. This is an interesting comic because, first of all, the art is amazing. I liked it, and the whole world is very brutal, and the art sort of depicts that. I want to show you like a panel. So in the first one, Sweet Tooth lives in a forest in a cabin, and after his father dies, he meets up with Leopard. That's this dude, and together they travel to, I guess, what's it called? Not a reservation, but a safe haven for kids like him. I did a reading log for this one, which will be coming out after this video, so definitely check it out where I talk more about the books and everything. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to finishing this series at some point later in the future. That's it for my wrap up. I read a lot of books this month. I'm surprised. I surprised even myself. I didn't read anything I was supposed to read. I mean, I was on my TBR, but I enjoyed most of the things that I've read this month, and I think that definitely my favorite book is this one for this month because it's just awesome. Yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. You can press the like button, press the bell button to get notifications when I and my friend Christina put new videos out. There are some links to important things happening in the world in our description box, so please, if you have time, please check them out. And that is pretty much it. Yes, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. But that's it for my TV wrap.